Good evening. Welcome everybody to the July 15th meeting of the Stillwater City Council. I will call this meeting to order and ask you to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Good crowd tonight. I think most of you may be here for our proclamation presentation portion of the agenda. We appreciate you being here. I will start us out there on item 3 with a proclamation in relation to Kappa Kappa Psi and your 100-year anniversary. Steve Nelson, you're here to receive this proclamation. I will go ahead and read it, and then if you'd like to say a few words and just kind of let us know what's going on, we'd appreciate that. All right. Whereas Kappa Kappa Psi, National Honor Fraternity for College Band Members, dedicates itself to the promotion of college and university bands through leadership, musicianship, and service. And whereas Kappa Kappa Psi is a coeducational fraternal organization with active members who serve more than 200 band programs across the United States, and whose members are often referred to as the backbone of their respective band programs. And whereas Kappa Kappa Psi strives for the highest as a student service and leadership recognition society, whose chief aim is to assist university directors of bands in developing the dedication, leadership, and enthusiasm required of their band members. And whereas Kappa Kappa Psi was founded at the Oklahoma A&M College, now Oklahoma State University, on November 27, 1919, by band director Bohumil Makovsky, close enough, and 10 outstanding bandsmen, and is celebrating its centennial year in 2019. And whereas the Alpha chapter of Kappa Kappa Psi has served the OAMC OSU band program unceasingly since its founding 100 years ago. Therefore, I, William Joyce, Mayor of the City of Stillwater, on this 15th day of July, on the occasion of the Kappa Kappa Psi and Tau Beta Sigma National Convention being held in Stillwater this week, July 16th through 20th, do hereby proclaim November 27th, 2019, the 100-year anniversary, as Kappa Kappa Psi Day in the city of Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Good afternoon. As you said, my name is Steve Nelson. I'm the National Executive Director for Kappa Kappa Psi and Tau Beta Sigma from our national headquarters here in Stillwater. And on behalf of my brothers here, we're very excited to bring our national convention to Stillwater. It'll be starting tomorrow. We expect upwards of 1,500 students, alumni, family, and friends to be in town for the next 5 days for our national convention and for our centennial celebration on Saturday. So we're very proud to call Stillwater our home, and we're proud of the long relationship that we've had with Stillwater and with Oklahoma State. And if I could, I would just tell you a little bit about some of the people that are here. We have representatives for our National Council, our Board of Trustees, our Alumni Association, and here on the front row, or the second row, we have some of our student leaders. We have the president of the Alpha chapter, the local chapter here at Oklahoma State, and our 6 district presidents, which represent our chapters across the country. We have chapters from Maine to California and all the states in between. So we're very pleased to be here, and we're looking forward to a great week. And thank you for everything that the City of Stillwater has done for us. And thank you for the proclamation.
Thank you for being here. Yeah, I'm going to bring this down to you and present you with the copy. We can take a picture if you'd like. Looks like you've got some cameras over here. Maybe we'll start that way.
We're big about pictures.
I'm just going to look generally in that direction. All right. Do we need one, or do you think we're good? I think we're good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Have a great week. You sure you guys don't want to stay for the zoning and... Yeah, we should have had a band performance or something, right? Next time. All right, that takes us to item 4 on the agenda with the diehards that are here for the rest of this. We'll jump down to the consent docket. On the consent docket, we have one item, accept sewer and sidewalk improvements for Mockingbirds Estate Development on 3020 East 6th Avenue. Councilors, any questions or comments or motions?
Motion to accept the consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the consent docket. Please vote. With a vote of 3-0, that item is approved. Takes us to public comment on items not scheduled for public hearing. We don't have anyone signed up for that this evening. I'm just going to mention, we did have one person sign up for an item that's not on the docket. Is Mr. Adam Dye here? No? Okay. Just making sure he was. We'll have to follow up with him. But that does take us down to public hearing on item 7. Public hearing A, receive public comment regarding a request from Comilla Corporation for a specific use permit for a medical marijuana dispensary at property addressed as 1124 East 6th Avenue in the Commercial General District. This is CC-19-108. Mr. Dorman, did we have good notice on this public hearing?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Dennison.
Good
How are you?
evening. This is a request for a medical marijuana dispensary. Again, the address is 1124 East 6th. The property actually encompasses about 3 lots on the north side of 6th Avenue before you get to Doty. It's opposite the western piece of the cemetery of Fairlawn. So in looking at a street view, it's what many of us around here know as the pawn shop on West 6th Avenue. So that is the building within which the dispensary is proposed. They meet all of the parking. They're actually putting in additional parking, and happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Councilors, any questions? All right, at this time, I will open the public hearing. I have no one signed up to speak on this item. Oh, wait, I do. Do I? Stephen, you're not here for this, right? Or you are here? Okay, you're here representing the owner? Okay. Anyone have questions? Well, let me do this. I'm going to open the public hearing. We do have one speaker signed up, Mr. Goes.
Stephen Gose with Gose and Associates, 113 East 8th, here on behalf on the applicant, if there's any questions.
Councilors?
Are they using the whole building?
No, it's just the west 15 feet of it. The existing smoke shop will stay in business. It's just the west piece of it. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I will close the public hearing and ask Paula for Planning Commission's recommendations.
Yes, Planning Commission does send a recommendation of approval of this SUP with a unanimous 5-0 vote.
Thank you, Paula. Councilors, questions, comments, or motions? From the two of you.
Yeah. Motion to approve the request from Comilla Corporation for a specific use permit for a medical marijuana dispensary at property addressed at 1124 East 6th Avenue.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the request. Please vote. With a vote of 2-1, that is approved. The dissenting vote from Vice Mayor Darlington. I've been told I have to announce that.
Perfectly fine.
Not just on this item, but on all votes. So everyone, even folks who can't see the board, know who voted which way.
Fair.
I'm not trying to single you out.
I'm proud of my vote.
I know you are. Okay, that takes us to item 7B. Receive public comment regarding a request from SC Retail Management, LLC, the owners of the Slim Chickens, for a map amendment to rezone a portion of property at 1011 North Boomer Road from commercial general to residential two-family multifamily RTM district. This is CC-19-107. Mr. Dorman, do we have good notice on this item?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Dennison?
Yes, thank you. This is a request to rezone it looks very, very small piece of property, a portion of a larger piece, actually. It's located currently in the general commercial zoning district, and they're asking to rezone it to the RTM, which is the two-family and multifamily. So it's the lowest density multifamily zoning district that we have. The property is located in the hatched area. So Husband Street is to the east. Boomer cuts diagonally north-south across there. The white-topped building in the center, this is the Slim Pickens. So this is the back portion of their property that actually circles around and fronts on Husband Street. So Whataburger and Freddy's. Freddy's is to the north of the Slim Chickens. So the aerial view shows the property in question. It's outlined in the lime green. As you can see, it is undeveloped at this time. It does have some trees on the property. Can be accessed from the Slim Chickens parking lot. Don't have exactly the layout yet of what the proposal is. They're waiting on the rezoning to occur and see where it goes. This is a view actually from the Freddy's property looking into the school's parking lot, which will be the parking lot that's right in front of the Performing Arts Center at the high school. And then this is looking directly out to Husband. Husband is going to be running across the screen. The proposal, they have indicated that they are wanting to put some duplexes on this property. As you could see, the land is underutilized. It's not utilized for anything right now. They're mowing it and they're trying to keep it maintained, and they would like to use it for some additional activity. And they believe that in talking with staff that they have the market for duplexes in this area. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Paula. Counselors?
How many duplexes could be put on this property?
They were looking at probably no more than 4, and it may not be the side-by-side duplexes. It may be the duplexes where one is on top of the other. So have 2 structures, possibly maybe 3 structures. But they would be required to meet all of the setbacks, all of the height limitations, and any of that. I don't believe there's any screening requirements between the school and the residential piece. If there were any screening requirements, it would be between the commercial and the newly formed residential, if that's the direction of the council in the
Is there
rezoning.
any other type of housing that could go in there besides duplexes when you say multifamily?
They could do, the RTM is very limited in the multifamily style. So if there were any apartments, the typical apartments, they would potentially be 3-plexes, 4-plexes. You might be able to get 1 building on the property because of the density requirements that you have in that zoning district.
Okay.
Just to make sure, how large is that lot?
Give me just a moment. It is 0.64 acre. So it's a little over half an acre.
So you know, on our zoning comparison chart, the minimum lot size is 20,000 square feet. I don't know the math on how many square feet.
Yes, that would be, the 0.64 is going to be closer to 28 or 30,000 square feet.
And they can only have 40% coverage on that lot?
In that zoning district. That is correct.
That is not much room.
I'm sorry?
That is not a lot of room.
It's not a lot of room. No. That's probably the reason they're considering going up instead of out with the structures, because it's still the same footprint
Right.
and coverage.
Sure. Yeah. But the height is 35 feet limit.
The height is 35 feet, which typically averages out in these structures right at the 2 stories. It's really hard to get a 3-story in unless you have less of a slope to the roof.
Yeah. Where they haven't done the entrance and exit yet?
They have not for the development plan. No, they haven't.
you know what a horrible corner that is. I mean, you may not know what a horrible corner that is. And it's not right on the corner, but it's, it would really complicate traffic on Husband if there was
There's quite a
another
bit.
cut out there.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of traffic already on Husband without anything additional added to it. Yes, especially with the school and the activities that they have. And Husband is a great connection from the downtown up to Boomer Lake, even, all the way up to Boomer Lake. So, yes. This does not hit the threshold for a traffic impact analysis because they're not generating a certain number of vehicle trips per day in the peak hour. So a TIA, traffic impact analysis, is not required as part of this development.
Is it within the school zone? Is the flashing yellow light?
That I do not know.
I should
I
have
would-
noticed it when
I would assume it is because it adjoins the school property.
If you go back to your aerial view, you may be able to see it.
I feel like the school zone light is right.
I think it's
right there.
I think it's pretty close.
Yeah.
I can't really tell from it. Be happy to pull up Google Earth if you want to give me a minute so we can find it.
I'm pretty sure it's past there, but
North of,
no,
south of that,
South.
back toward Boomer.
Would a development here require a separate curb cut, or could they cut and then just latch onto the existing Slim Pickens parking lot?
They could actually connect to the existing Slim Pickens parking lot.
Chickens.
There are, yes, Slim Chickens, thank you. I keep saying Slim
Which one did
Pickens,
I
don't I?
Did I?
You've had dinner.
We had chicken.
And chicken. Yes, they could connect to the existing parking lot. We do have separation requirements for driveways off of streets, and I don't have that information before me this evening, but they do have the proper frontage along Husband to where they could have a driveway connection. However, it would be very prudent of them to utilize the existing off of the Slim Chickens parking lot.
Yeah,
Plus, that would give them additional access out to Boomer.
right.
Is, just to be clear, the across Husband, all of that is residential, single-family zoning?
Yes. Everything on that side of Husband is residential, single-family. There are two properties that have, there's three properties that have PUD, I believe, over them. I would have to go back in the records. They're very old, what those properties are. When you get down to the south where Papa John's is located, that's where commercial begins on the east side of Husband. And then, of course, to the north is the high school property. So this will be the only RTM zoning designation within a larger area. There's some RT, as you can see in the deeper yellow on the screen, that's the RT zoning. The majority of it, of course, along Boomer is going to be your commercial general. And then in the far southwest corner of the slide here, where that O is, that's office district. So that's got quite a few zoning districts in that small area.
I would venture that that area is not underutilized during the school year. It's quite a gathering
very
place.
Parking.
Not parking, smoking.
Oh,
The lot?
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, you drive by there, I'm sure.
all the time. Yeah.
this might put a stop to that.
I'm glad you said I drive by. I don't go there.
Any other questions? I will try and answer them if you have any. They will have to do drainage study, drainage analysis, all of the typical development-related activities. This is
There's
step
kind of a
one.
marshy little area right through the middle, and it really has some great, beautiful, big trees.
It does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
I wonder if they could use part of Slim Chicken's parking lot for parking rather than covering more ground with cement.
If I recall correctly, Slim Chickens actually put in more parking lot than the minimum required.
Right.
So that could have been in their pre-planning a few years ago when they even built Slim Chickens. Because I do recall that they had discussed whether or not to obtain this entire piece of property, and they did go ahead and get all of it.
All right, that's the question portion. Any other questions at this point? We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. I don't have anyone signed up for this hearing, so I will close the public hearing and ask for Planning Commission's recommendations, Paul.
Yes, the Planning Commission is recommending approval with a 4-1 vote.
Okay, so if I recall correctly, that no one spoke at that Planning Commission hearing either.
Right.
Right, I did get one email about this week, which I'm sure you all got as well. Opposed to the zoning. It does seem like a bit of an island to create in this area. But and I would be concerned about additional traffic, although with a few units, maybe it's not that big of a deal.
I would actually rather have things filling in than going way out on
true.
the edges.
That's a good point. All right, well, is there a motion?
A motion to accept the Planning Commission recommendation.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second to approve this item. Please vote. This item is approved by a 3-0 vote. Okay, that takes us to item 7C, receive public comment regarding a request from Grand Lake Mental Health Center, Inc. for a special use permit for property addressed as 1624 and 1706 North Cimarron Plaza to establish an outpatient mental health and substance abuse center in the commercial shopping CS district. This is CC-19-109. Mr. Dorman, we have good notice on this item?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Dennison.
Yes, thank you again. This is a request for a specific use permit to allow the health and social services use within the commercial shopping zoning district. The deep red on the screen is the commercial shopping zoning, and the majority of this is what we all know as Cimarron Plaza. It is owned by the public school district. The high school is directly to the south. The creek meanders on the eastern side of this Cimarron Plaza, and to the west, we have a couple of zoning districts, the more intense residential, and then your commercial general, and bumping up against Boomer Road. So the hatched area is the portion of the existing building that this use is proposed in. The layout, it's a little fuzzy and hard to see, but this is the layout of the existing building that will be used. It's approximately 24,000 and change square feet. And these are a couple of front shots of the property. One of the things about the property that I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows, this is for Grand Lake Mental Health Center, Inc. And they are coming to town to provide mental health services for the community of Stillwater. And they were asked at the Planning Commission meeting, and I'm sure you've got the minutes in your packets, about whether the school was in favor of this. And the school would not be leasing this space to them if they were not in favor. And more than that, the school is very excited to have this service to our community located in their property. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. Again, this is a specific use permit, and they have met, of course, with the existing building, parking lot, everything. They have met all of the minimum requirements.
Thank you, Paula. Counselors, any questions at this point?
Just a comment. This is, everything's in my neighborhood tonight. That's my house right by the arrow. And I am ecstatic to have Grand Lake Mental Health Center in this community, not serving not only Stillwater, but Payne County and Osage, Noble, Payne, Pawnee, Kay. They're a fabulous organization.
And they're very ready to get going.
Absolutely.
All right, I will then open the public hearing on this item. I don't have anyone signed up to speak, so I will close the public hearing and ask for Planning Commission recommendation.
The Planning Commission does send a unanimous recommendation for approval.
Thank you, Paula. Counselors, any further comment or question?
Motion to accept the Planning Commission recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this item. Please vote. With a vote of 3-0, the specific use permit is approved. All right, item D, 2016 Community Development Block Grant, 2016 Closeout, CC-19-104. Mr. Dorman, do we have good notice on this item?
Yes, sir.
Paula,
Yes.
welcome back.
Thank you. Switching it up a little bit. So in 2016, the council approved a project around the Wings of Hope on North Boomer to install ADA sidewalks on Airport Road and on Washington Street. That also included bus stops and access to the Kamioka Trail. The grant from ODOC, Oklahoma Department of Commerce at that time, was just shy of $140,000. Of course, it requires a 1-to-1 city match. There was additional match that the city put in. The total expenditures of the grant ended up at $366,376. And if you'll give me just a few minutes just to show everyone what we were able to accomplish with this grant, and especially in that area of town for Wings of Hope. So this is a pre-look, a pre-construction look. Wings of Hope
Really
is
confused.
Yeah.
Wings of Hope is up here in the very, very, very north end of this picture. This is going to be Washington. And here at the bottom, cutting across, is Airport. And you can see the sidewalk is coming just to the airport frontage.
Paula, I'm going to just interrupt you for a second and let you know that we can't see your cursor, which is fine. I mean, we can kind of follow you, but it would be great if we could figure out some way to
Show
allow
a cursor
you to have a cursor
on
up
this.
there so that we could see it, but we can't.
And we have tried the lights,
lasers,
but they
yeah,
don't
they don't
show
work on
up
the
on the
screen,
television
yeah.
screen either. So in the center of the picture at the bottom is where the existing sidewalk is. If you go straight north from the 90 degree of that sidewalk up Boomer Road, then Washington Street, then that is where you end up at the Mission of Hope. So opposite that, looking from the Mission of Hope area to that intersection, this is part of the construction that occurred. And of course, we had some positive challenges with crossing bridges and waterways. And this is the final result. It's a little difficult to see, but from the same pre-picture here at the crosswalk, that's Airport Road, you go to the T, everything on the east and north of the sidewalk T, just at the U-Haul sign, is constructed. It runs across the bridge, all the way up Boomer Road, and you can see in the northern part of the picture that it zigzags back in to where there's some separation between the sidewalk and actually Washington Street, and that is at the Wings of Hope. I would be happy to answer any questions. We're excited to close this out.
Excellent. And if I recall, did we, at the same time, did we extend that up on Airport Road across the east side of?
To the bus?
Yes, towards Boomer Lake.
Yes.
Yes, to connect with the Kamioka Trail.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. And bus stops there also.
Yeah, so that bus stop is on south on Washington, right, by the kind of almost to the bowling alley? Or maybe just in front of those apartments? Yeah. But then we
I
also
hear a
built
yes.
on the east side of the,
Of Washington. Yes, we did.
which is great because the connectivity, one, for Wings of Hope to the bus stop itself, which was a major part of the grant, but then also the larger connectivity to trails, to Yamioka, to the lake, allowing people who aren't driving their car around to have greater access to all of the city's facilities is a fantastic thing.
A great use of the opportunities that we have for this grant.
Absolutely.
All right, I will at this point open the public hearing. We don't have anyone signed up to speak, so I will close the public hearing. Paul, is there a recommendation?
Yes, staff does recommend that y'all approve the closeout and authorize the city manager to sign the closeout documents.
Thank you very much. Councilors, is there a motion?
Motion to approve the staff recommendations to close it out.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this item. Please vote. With a vote of 3-0, the 2016 Community Development Block Grant is closed out.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to item 8, general orders. A, consider replacement of the 26th Avenue Bridge structure utilizing new pipes and increasing the length to allow for future active transportation path. An estimated cost of $350,000 and engage Keystone Engineering and Goes and Associates for survey and design services. This is CC-19-98. Mr. Carnes, how are you this evening?
I'm doing wonderful, Mayor.
Thanks
Good
for
to
being
see
here.
everyone. Monty Carnes, Director of Engineering, here to talk about the 26th Avenue Bridge that we've had some challenges with since our May 20th flood. We thought we'd give you a picture of the floodplain. The yellow star there in the middle, I think that's yellow, is the location of the bridge. The floodplain at that location is about 1,300 feet wide. The floodway portion of that is 350 feet wide. The base flood elevation is about 871 feet. Top of the road's 866 feet, so if we ever get the 100-year event through there, we're going to have 5 foot of water over the road. Interesting, the 10-year event puts 2 foot of water over the top of the road.
How much water was over the road
We estimate about 3 feet
this last time?
this last time, yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood. Here's a picture of the debris. You can see the water in the background there. That's the downstream side. I don't know, that was 2 or 3 days. It took several days for the water to go down. That may have been 3 or 4 days afterwards. I think we were still in May. It's when we started checking to see what we had. I want you to kind of pay attention, if you can, where you see the debris kind of in the upper right-hand corner and you see it stop. Kind of gauge what that guardrail is up above the pavement. We're going to talk about that again in a minute. Week, 10 days later, water went down enough we could get in and look at the pipes. You can see that we have 5 8-foot diameter pipes. You'll notice the stone head wall to kind of try and hold in the backfill material. You'll notice some debris and some pretty calm water on the upstream side. And the downstream side, you can see that water's moving a little faster. What you can't see is that below the inverts of the pipe, the bottom of the pipes, it's eroded out on the upstream and the downstream side, which gives me great concern that we have water moving underneath those pipes, which then has the opportunity to pull material down from above. About 5-6 years ago, if you look at those pipes closely down at the bottom, you'll see some discoloration. That's actually a kind of a plastic liner that 5-6 years ago was installed as a repair because those inverts had begun to rust out. Those were placed in June of 1982. I know that because I was here when we put them in. happens to be my stamp on the drawings. We did have to modify the head wall. We'd originally planned to put a concrete wall, but we don't have a lot of money now. We didn't have any money in '82, and we just had to do what we could with what we had.
It's held up pretty well, though.
It's held up pretty well, 37 years.
Yeah.
Sure. I wish I'd held up that well. On the left, you'll see what I'm calling distressed pavement. We had begun to notice a little bit of distress. We kind of getting a little worried about the structure but it wasn't cracked that bad. The cracks weren't that wide, and that was pretty early on when we discovered that. I asked you to look at the guardrail on the couple of pictures before. Notice how this one's sagging and basically the pavement's holding it up. On the upstream side, we've lost enough material that the posts are actually sunk down. We had some concern about what was actually going on in there. Of course, we can't see. We got in the pipes. We put hammers on it. Thought we heard some hollow spots. When they did the repair work before, they injected some foam to get some hollow into some of the hollow spots. It's kind of hard to tell if we were hitting foam or hitting more hollow spots. We pulled the pavement off to kind of see what was going on, and the right picture is our inspector just very easily putting the left heel of his boot into the soil. So why am I concerned about this, and why is there a picture of Lake McMurtry Access Road on a slide titled 26th Avenue Bridge? You may recall that in that same event, we lost a pretty good sized culvert on Lake McMurtry Access Road. That picture was taken. After that picture was taken, the rest of the road pretty much fell in. The material had washed away from between the top of the pipe, side of the pipe, and the bottom of the pavement. These things don't happen in one event. They happen over a period of time. They start off kind of slowly, and then maybe an event will come in and finish it off. Sometimes the cavity will be there for some time until a big enough load comes across it. On 26th Avenue, we have sanitation trucks, we have delivery trucks, we have school buses. That's kind of been my concern. I told folks, I'd probably bet next month's house mortgage that, we could keep that thing in service for a while, but I don't want to bet anybody's lives on it. So that's the reason we've taken the time to go through and figure out what we're doing. So we've come up with some options for you to consider. First one's to repair it. The second is to replace the galvanized steel metal pipes with aluminized corrugated metal pipes. We can replace it with a reinforced concrete box bridge, or we can replace it with the multi-span bridge. Only the multi-span bridge will completely get the road up out of the floodplain, but it's going to require about 10 foot of fill to do it. And that's going to run a quarter to half a mile, and we're going to be well into 7 figures to make that happen. If we felt like that might be justified in the next 50, 60, 70 years, we might talk about that. We've looked at how much land can be developed in that area. It's a pretty wide floodplain. That's going to limit how much land we can be developed. Also, that what can be developed, what will likely be the traffic patterns. And we just don't foresee enough development to justify spending those kind of dollars on that type of facility. If you want us to look further into it, we'll be happy to do so. So the options that we did kind of consider was repair the bridge. We would put shotcrete on those head walls, and I gave you a picture of what the shotcrete would look like. Fortunately, the public wouldn't see that. They'd be over to the sides. We'd construct cut-off walls to stop any water from going underneath it. We'd have to go in and remove and replace the soft soils that we could get to, but there's only 2 feet between those pipes, and we'd have to be careful that we're not damaging the pipe and all kinds of things. We'd replace the guardrail. We'd put a reinforced curb in for the guardrail to be on. We'd replace the pavement. As I mentioned in the report, when we got to $110,000, we thought, do we really want to spend that kind of money on this? I think that's probably going to be closer to $150,000, $160,000 to do that repair. If we look at a reinforced concrete box replacement, showing you a picture of a 3-cell structure, that's basically what we'd put in, probably 3 12 by 8 or 9 foot high cells. We would extend the length of that so that we could put an active alternative transportation path in that area in the future as the development would call for it and would justify it. The previous option would not really allow us to do that and make it very difficult for us to put a path in. We'd do guardrails, we'd put probably some type of wing walls instead of those sloped walls that you're looking at there. Again, the repair option does nothing to extend the life of that 37-year-old structure. We might get another 10 years or so out of it. The concrete box option is going to give you probably 75 years of life. If we go to the next option, we do aluminized pipe. Go back with 5 8-foot diameter pipes. Again, we'll make them long enough so we can do the future active transportation alternatives. That particular picture is showing metal head walls. We put concrete head walls in, again, cut-off walls and a guardrail. We're going to get somewhere 50, 75-year life out of the aluminized pipe. The reason you do better with aluminized than galvanized metal is the water, as the flood water comes through, it's got sediment, it's got rocks, it's got all kinds of stuff, and that wears away the galvanized coating. With aluminized, you still get some of that, but there's no coating to be, you're just still down to aluminum. So you don't get that rust out in the invert, which extends the life. Fortunately, we may be eligible for some reimbursement of our costs. We'd have to have approval from FHWA before we start the construction, but that doesn't preclude us from doing the planning. They would also reimburse us for any temporary costs we might have to get it back into service before we replace it. We're looking at some options to do that. We've got various safety concerns one way or the other, but we're trying to explore if it's going to take us a while to get the bridge. Then maybe we need to figure out a way maybe to put in one lane, and we're evaluating that, and I would hope to have that evaluation done by towards the end of this week. ODOT their bridge engineer is going to come out later this week. He'll start the paperwork. He'll submit it to FHWA. There's currently 121 projects from the May flood that they're processing. He would ask that they, at least tell us yay or nay fairly quickly. I would say it's probably 50-50 as to whether or not they would participate in the replacement cost. And that, we'll go ahead, we'll proceed as though they will. Make sure we don't do anything that would jeopardize this funding. My understanding is just as long as we don't spend any money on the actual replacement before they get formal approval, we're okay. And we'll verify that, and then if they reimburse us, that's great. It might be several months, year or later before we get the money to replace it. So that kind of concludes the presentation. If you've got any questions, be happy to answer those.
Thank you, Monty. Councilors?
I have a question about the future active transportation piece,
Uh-huh.
Monty. And would it not seem that you would do it all at one time?
We really don't have anything to connect it to on either side, nor do we have the width. That existing roadway is fairly narrow now. It doesn't have shoulders. We really don't have anything to connect to at this time. Asphalt or a concrete path sitting out there with no traffic on it or any use at all is going to have a tendency to deteriorate. So, and it would be such a small cost of any future project that there's really no savings to do so. We did think about it, but that's the
Oh,
reason we
I
came
know
up with.
you put it in there, so
Yeah,
I knew you thought
Well, I
about it.
mean, we thought about going ahead, do we put the path in now
Uh-huh.
at this time? But when we kind of kicked it around, we just thought, well, it's not a lot of cost, but it's a cost sitting there, and it's going to be old, you know, kind of may even have to replace it by the time we get to that point. So we just
I
thought
would
it
just think
probably
that-
about this.
It would be a road that people would ride bikes on.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of traffic. And, go out in the
Yeah.
country or whatever. So
The-
I guess you can get across the bridge
Yeah.
anyway,
Right.
yeah.
So just to be clear, when you're saying for the multi-use, potentially future multi-use, you're just making those,
Yeah, we just
Pipes
extend
long
them out.
enough,
Yeah,
so
we'll
there's
add
enough
about
room.
12 feet to them, and actually, it's a pretty minor cost. The
Sure.
big cost is how you do the end treatment on the bridges.
so kind of back to the question of, is there going to be enough traffic there in the future to worry about, is this road ever going to be 3-lane, or is this road going to be 4-lane, and do we want to build that wide so that we can handle all of that traffic? I'm sure the study in terms of what future development looks like makes a lot of sense. I mean, if we were talking about maybe that road needs to be 3-lane 20 years from now, how much additional cost would it be to widen it that much, plus it seems like you're probably doubling or close to doubling the length of the...
The big cost would probably be the additional right-of-way we'd have to buy. We can certainly look at that.
Oh, okay.
The update to the step plan takes us out to 2040. They kind of insinuate in that even beyond that, they don't see a need to go over 2 lanes.
Okay. And I wonder just if you did 3-lane the rest of that road, if you ended up widening it, you potentially could still have it kind of, that center turn lane just doesn't go over the bridge or something, like it narrows back down.
We could. Yeah. And to me, 3 lanes work really well where we've got a lot of connections to it. And if that develops the way that we, would hope it would develop, we can limit how many access points. So maybe we don't need the 3 lanes, which is 1 lane mile less pavement that we have to
Yeah.
maintain.
Yeah.
Good point. So the two main options you've listed here are the aluminized pipe and the concrete box, and there's a $300,000 difference or so between them. I mean, it sounded like 50 to 75 versus 75 or so in terms of life.
I don't really see the justification to put a reinforced concrete box in there. I can think of a lot of other places I'd rather put the 300,000 than something that we might, get another 20 or 25 years life out of. That hydraulically really didn't do that much for you in that particular situation. Really won't do that much if we do the construction right. Maintenance won't be any more than it would be with an RCB. So I just don't see a compelling reason to spend the extra money.
It sounded like at the end there you were talking about what we're going to do with that road in the meantime between now and when we could actually do construction and build this bridge. So what is the timeline for when this, if we picked, the first option, when is it going to?
My guess is it'll take us 6 weeks to get the survey, the design done. I hope we could get it done quicker than that. We can snap a whip on the engineer if we select the one recommended. Maybe a little longer than that. Then it's going to take us a month to bid it. Then it'll take some fabrication time for the pipes and the installation. So we could easily be 5-6 months down the road.
And so, but the idea is to try to open at least a lane or something
That
between now
that
and
would
then?
be what we would look at doing.
Try to do that, okay. Because I'm just
But
thinking.
then we have the concern of, okay, we got a 1-lane bridge, we got 2-way traffic
Yeah.
trying to look at it.
Yeah.
We really can't put guardrails up, so we're going to put up New Jersey barriers. How do you do the end treatment? You know.
And where do people have to travel now to go south or north?
You can go a half a mile south to 32nd to get your detour to get around. So, you know, for someone who lives right there at Walnut, that's going to add, a half a mile that way, half a mile. So that's going to add about 2 miles to a round trip.
All right.
I guess
Councilors,
it's going to be about a mile and a half, so it'll be about 3 miles for a round trip.
Okay.
any further questions on this item?
Nope.
So, Monty, just cover your proposed or recommendation you have here.
So our recommendation would be that we proceed with the design to replace the structure with aluminized pipe structure. We would utilize Keystone Engineering for the survey via their master services agreement, and that we would retain Ghost and Associates to do the design work.
Okay. It just struck me that this bridge is one that we had a certain number of folks driving around barricades during our flood event and driving over it because it was dry for a while. And I'm just, with those pictures you showed earlier, I'm glad that I think we had to go out and dump sand on the road to try to keep people from driving down it, right?
We did.
So for those of you watching, that's why. And, especially, you talk about buses or trucks or something, somebody goes over that and it's not stable, we'd have a pretty big mess. So we certainly appreciate the work you guys do to make sure these things are safe before we let folks drive on them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That aside, out of the way, do you have questions, comments, or motions on the recommendation?
Motion to replace the structure utilizing the new aluminized material pipes and increase the length to allow for a future active transportation path for an estimated cost of $350,000 and engage Keystone Engineering and Ghost and Associates for survey and design services.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on this item. Please vote. With a vote of 3-0, staff recommendation is approved. Thank you, Monty. Item 8B, authorize staff to proceed with Strategic Plan Key Performance Indicators Task Force, CC-19-105. Hello, Sherry. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me. Sherry Fletcher, Director of Marketing and Civic Engagement. Name change still throws me. We are back with a plan for a task force to add key performance indicators to the strategic plan. We discussed the strategic plan in January. We made the edits that you guys requested for that and brought it back in May with a request to have a task force look at those key performance indicators. You asked us to look at a task force that includes citizen involvement. So what we would like to do is find out how you would like to get the citizens to serve on that task force. Do you want them to apply? Do you want them or do you want to appoint them? We do have some staff members that have volunteered to serve on a task force about this. So I've got several here. I figured there would probably be some difficulty in getting everybody in the room at the same time, so we have a few more than we probably need. Depending on how you want to select the citizens, we could begin meeting as soon as possible after that. Well, the plan is that starting now, we would ask department heads and divisions to provide what they think should be the key performance indicators from their subject areas, what they think would be meaningful. It may be things that they already measure, but maybe they can help put it in perspective, perhaps, and then that way when the task force receives them, they don't have a blank page to start from. So then the task force then can start looking at them, make other suggestions, delete some, whatever needs to happen. So what we would like to do, then after we have the report, send it back to the city manager, come back to you. We would incorporate those key performance measures into the next version of this strategic plan. So the strategic plan has been called a rolling 5-year plan because every year we want to add something to it. So the key performance indicators is something that needs to be added and hasn't been developed yet. Another example of that was we may want to add like tasks or projects that support those priorities. So that would be like another another year, we would start looking at that and adding that in. I think at that point, all of the pieces of the strategic plan would be in place, and we would redesign the entire thing and then kind of start over. So I think really the only thing we need tonight is to know how you would like to get the citizens on that task force, whether you want to have staff appoint them, whether you want to appoint them, or I guess the third option would be we could use the application form on the website, put out a press release, bring back the nominations, and go that route. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Sherry. Councilors?
First of all, one point that I would really emphasize is that there should be an equal number of citizens and staff.
Okay.
And so if you're going to, understand that these people have volunteered, these 6 people. I think 6 citizens should be on that, especially if you're going to start work right away. It's still summer and vacation time, and you never get everybody.
So you would like to have 6 citizens to match the 6, or we could reduce the number of staff members and do 3 and 3, either way.
I don't see a big problem with 12 because you
It's
probably
a
are
lot-
not
it's a
going to
lot
get
of
everybody.
subjects.
It's
Yeah.
a lot of work to do. Easily divided up also.
So just to be sort of clear about what this task force goal is going to be, they're going to be staff's going to be putting together what they think the KPIs should look like for their specific
Suggested
departments.
ones.
And then the task force will be kind of looking at, yeah, that seems like something we would want to see, or maybe here's another suggestion.
Right.
So the outcome of this task force is really just to identify what the appropriate measures should be
Yes.
to include as KPIs. They're not going to
Yes.
be necessarily serving going forward to review these, or
No, they're not
or
going to be
a-
gathering the
yeah,
data. Once we know what they are, then the staff would pull those together, and then we would put them into the strategic plan.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I think a larger committee there is going to help you, because you're not really having to try to go through and do a big strategic, decision-making process. You're really just kind of gathering a lot of input and trying to clean it up. So I would agree that 12 members, 6 and 6 would make sense. Any thoughts on gathering those names? Certainly the press release and asking people. I mean, I think there are a number of folks in the community who probably do this in their own roles, or they're interested in it, or they're interested in seeing the city report data better, and could, would want to volunteer. And so we'd want to put that press release out and get as much interest as we could in those folks. And I mean, it makes sense to me to just kind of gather the
I'm with you on that,
recommendations.
yeah.
You guys kind of put them together, figure out which 6 make the most sense, and bring
Yep.
them to us as a kind of
Yep.
just here's who we're going to nominate. And if for any reason we don't, we can always, I think we would just approve or the nominations you guys make.
I know several people who are interested in it, and I
Okay.
will encourage them to just fill out the application.
Okay, we can go ahead and get started on that and get that rolling, so. all right.
This also seems like the kind of thing where maybe once in the process, a larger, just sort of invitation for a public meeting of some kind, just to bring people in, and if they have comments, they don't necessarily want to be on the task force, but before it gets back to
Some
us,
input.
just a public meeting for some other input on it too. Does that make sense? So the task force works for a while, kind of makes its final, or gets somewhere along in the process, and then it has a public meeting where anybody can come in and make comment, or do that sort of thing before you guys make your final recommendation back to the council. Well, who knows? I mean, who knows how many people will. I think it's the kind of thing. I mean, certainly, we talked about before, data and transparency of how this stuff is used, and all the numbers we've talked about. Would be great that we could, if we could report them clearer. I think there's a lot of interest in it. So certainly want to give people as much opportunity as we can to have a say in what we're measuring.
A direction we would like to go is to be able to have like an online dashboard
Yeah,
where people
absolutely.
come in and look at these
That'd be
numbers,
fantastic.
maybe in real time as they get reported, as opposed to just once a year on
Yeah.
the strategic plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And there, I mean, it may even be something that we keep as a standing committee somewhat
Yes.
to sort of continue to review.
Yep.
Okay, here's
Yep.
a new thing we'd like to add, or because they can change over time. We
Absolutely.
may, as we measure something after a few months, you go, I don't really care about that number. It doesn't really show me something that I care about. So
Yeah, because that could be something you can look at each year when you look at the strategic
Mm-hmm.
plan. As your goals and stuff change, the key performance measures would change.
Yep, right. Just to clarify, Sherry, you said you would get busy on that right away. You don't mean a new application?
No, we would use the same application. We'll
okay.
write a press release and then we'll publicize
Okay.
we're looking for
I
these.
just wanted to make sure
Yes.
I told them the right application.
Yeah, it's the same application
Okay.
we would use for everything. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Sherry, thanks for this.
yeah, absolutely. Do you have enough direction from us at this point?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Okay. I think that takes us to the next page. Reports from officers and boards. Item 11, Mr. Dorman.
Nothing to report tonight, sir.
Thank you. Mr. McNichol.
Yes, sir, I have 3 items. One we just found out about today. Happy to report that the 18 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report has been awarded the JFOA Certificate of Achievement for the 37th
Excellent.
consecutive year. We appreciate the Finance Department and all our department heads who work hard to get that budget together and try to provide transparency. That particular report, though, is difficult to read. But
Yes. But
it's
just to
still-
be clear, and I magnify this are comprehensive financial statements that we have to compile every year and put out there. We're awarded
Government Finance Officers Association, it's the gold
the
standard
gold standard. So
of
our team puts those
Keffers.
together very well.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you very much, Melissa, and to your team. 37 years in a row is a good job.
It is a big deal. I mean,
It is.
It's hard to get all of those standards met, so. Let's see. On April 1st, 2020 is U.S. Census Day. Did you know that population affects our eligibility and the amount of grant funding we can receive from funding opportunities like the U.S. HUD Community Development Block Grants or from federal agencies like FEMA? Everything you need to know about the 2020 census can be found at PaneCountyCensus.org. And one of the things that I'm very pleased about is that every city in the county has gathered together, and there is a task force of county officials in every city that are working hard to make sure that our count is accurate and countywide. So finally, we talked about the bridge a while ago and the problem with disasters. Payne County's Disaster Recovery Center is closing Saturday, July 20th at 3 p.m. And this is something people really need to pay attention to. We strongly encourage residents and businesses affected by the severe storms, straight line winds, tornadoes, and flooding between May 7th and June 9th, 2019 to visit the center if you have not yet visited. You can go to stillwater.org/FEMA for more information.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Zanotti?
Yes. After last week's City Council meeting, Block 34 upgrades have been set in motion. This week, crews are installing the new secondary pedestals, and weather permitting, all of the overhead lines will be removed from Block 34 by the end of next week. And it's amazing how just the simplest of changes make a huge impact. So I appreciate the city staff doing this, and I think step by step, this block is becoming more and more usable.
Absolutely.
Right.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Construction will begin in August for the new 32nd Avenue Booster Pump Station and the 6th Avenue to 32nd Avenue's 18-inch water line. This is the 5th Water 2040 project. This project will further improve Stillwater's drinking water system reliability and water quality. Stillwater has many projects in the works. Learn about them at stillwater.org under current projects.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I am going to let you know that the rehabilitation of the water treatment plant chlorine gas scrubber is complete. I know you guys have been following this project very closely. This project is very important. It ensures the safety of both the public and employees in the event of a chlorine leak or spill. So you can find more about the city's ongoing projects at stillwater.org under current projects. Also, police dogs, police dispatch, and updates on local developments are all topics in new episodes of the city's podcast, which is called FYI Stillwater. Don't miss out. You can listen on iTunes, Spotify, or through the city's website under the Government tab at Civic Engagement Initiatives. All right. That takes us to item 13, appointments. We have a couple of committees that we have appointments ready to go on, or we need to do appointments to. One is the Audit Committee, and we announced this a while back that we needed folks specifically with banking experience to fill a vacant spot on our Audit Committee, and we do have an application from Austin Pollard, who is a local banker here in Stillwater. I would like to go ahead and nominate Austin to fill the vacant seat on the Audit Committee.
I'll second that. Austin's a good fit.
Excellent. We have a nomination and a second. Please vote. With a vote of 3-0, Austin Pollard is appointed to the Audit Committee. Very important committee. For those of you who may not know, they do check the work and make sure our yearly audits are done well and that we're covering all the things we're supposed to be doing. So we certainly appreciate everyone's service on that committee to make sure our financials are in order. We also have one vacancy on the Airport Authority Board due to a resignation. We have a number of applications for this position on the Airport Authority Board. This is a board that oversees the airport and makes sure it's running well and helps the administration out there. At this time, I would like to nominate Jamie Payne to take over the vacant seat on the Airport Authority Board.
Second.
We have a nomination and a second. Please vote. With a vote of 3-0, Jamie Payne is appointed to the Airport Authority Board. Thank you for your willingness to serve, and to everyone on that board as well for the service they provide. The airport is it's a much busier place than it was a few years back, so we certainly appreciate all the work they're doing.
Exciting.
Yep.
Okay, that takes us down to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Please vote. We voted 3-0. The City Council meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all for being here.